Peace and love, friends and family. Welcome to the official first episode of season two of the Highly Emotional Podcast. I'm super excited for today's guest. He's widely known as a polymath and an elite level entrepreneur. You may have seen him on Gaia Networks, Codex, but I just think he's a genius for his discoveries in the world of math and consciousness. Welcome to the Highly Emotional Podcast, Robert Edward Grant.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm excited to get into this conversation. I watched some of the other podcasts, and I'm definitely interested in your unique way of how you see the world and question it.
Yeah, for sure. It's so crazy how things line up. Like ever since I read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, I've been committed to just surrendering and allowing my spirit to just guide me through life. And I recently did a podcast on my last season with Sean Clayton, who was a guest on one of your recent
Yeah, I just had him
episodes.
on mine. Yep.
And
Uh-huh.
I was like, yo, this is synchronicity. But not only that, I'm Peruvian, and you just recently went to Peru, and I was like, okay, this is how I know this conversation is meant to be. This is how I know we're meant to connect. And I was like, I just have to connect with Robert because he brings elements of mathematics to spirituality, and I'm a type of person where I've been able to shed my victim mentality through my trauma to become enlightened and raise my level of consciousness. But then it's hard to prove that to people who, don't understand the magic side of it. But when I started getting into your content, I was like, it's crazy how he can break down sacred geometry, mathematics, and all these other texts and bring it to spirituality. But also, I've heard you say that you prove the existence of God through math, which was mind blowing
Mhm.
to me because I was like, how? And when you broke it down, I was like, yo, I gotta share this with people. I gotta connect with people. So, yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. No, my pleasure to be here with you. And yeah, the I've been asked to give that speech now several times on proving the existence of God through math. And it's been interesting to see how the world has reacted to that.
Mm,
Now I'm actually going to be writing a book with a big publisher, HarperCollins, called, proving the mathematical proof for God.
mm.
And I think it's going to end up being a very popular book. I'm excited about where it's going. And even the Vatican had me give a speech there on that topic. And I called the topic, the name of the speech was Codex Universalis.
Oh wow.
And they sent it around to all the people in the Catholic Church. So it got so many views. And it wasn't even presenting a God the way that they describe it. That's the funny part about it. Like I was describing it as the entire universe is God, not just some, person who's like making all these decisions, one way or
Yeah.
another. And that we're all God. And it's proven in the math. And so I found it fascinating that they actually sent it around. And I had friends reach out to me and say, "Hey, I saw this speech you gave." I said, "Where'd you see it?" They said, "I saw it on the Vatican. It was on the Catholic Church's website." I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?"
You would think that they would not accept that, and that's
Totally,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
but anyway, such a pleasure.
Yeah, so you hear all these things about the Vatican and whatnot. What like I want to say is like how did you stumble across like the spiritual side of things and how were things before? Because I feel like a lot of us that are waking up now, we had to go through this traumatic experience to become enlightened. I was raised in church and then I suffered from depression. Then I tried to kill myself. And then I was a vegetable for 2 weeks where I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. I was confined to a bed. And when I died, because I died during the process, I had this experience of God where it wasn't a man in the clouds. It wasn't heaven and all these gates. It was just energy. And the way that I can explain it is to as if a drop from a water bottle had returned to the ocean, and it was just an abundance of love, abundance of just freedom,
Mhm.
just feeling. And ever since then, that has kind of been my theory of God, where I say, look, we all are God. I'm just God in human experience or an avatar experience, and we're all God. We all have the capability to access that frequency of God, but you have to tune into it and you have to be open for it also.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the thing. You have to stop believing that you're not God as well.
Mm,
In order to realize God, have your God realization, you have to recognize that you are a part of the thing that you're perceiving as God. And for you to think that the universe, and a lot of people can look at nature and say, wow, that's God. I can see that. I can see that. But I can't possibly be God because I'm imperfect. I make mistakes. You know, my shit stinks, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then what we're really doing is we're just creating more ego. And ego is just separation. So basically that is, you know, I think the most important aspect is to realize that you too can be God, and that worthiness is not tied to what you decide to achieve in life. We are all worthy just as a birthright. Just remember
Mm,
that.
absolutely. So, how where did you ever like experience like a traumatic experience that, you know, led you onto this path, or was this something that you always had installed in you and you just continued to pursue it?
Definitely I always had some belief inside of me that there was something more. I didn't know what that something more could necessarily be. What was it exactly? But I knew that there was something more there.
Mm,
And so I always looked, and I was open to what that something more could be. But I would say that in the last 15 years is when my awakening really became solid to me. It was no longer a concept, and in particular in the last 5 years, it was no longer a concept. It was now a new approach to how I perceive my reality.
mm. So I heard you say that you were saying that there's two things that I want to touch on is that I was hearing you say that judgment is I guess worse than hate in a sense, right? And then also the fact that um, you have to accept your shadow. Analogy is that the villain always ends up being the hero, and the hero always ends up being the villain. You look at Batman, he ends up going to jail. You look at the Joker, he inspires all these people. So, can you touch
Yeah.
on those things for me?
Yeah. I think all of us are both hero and villain, and we only want to see that we're hero.
Mm,
So we all have a yin yang within us. Like I said, I'm not afraid of people that have darkness. I'm only afraid of people that believe they have no darkness.
yeah,
And even villains believe they're the heroes. So Thanos, you know,
yeah,
this is the Thanos effect. Every one of the characters that you find, pretty much all the villains have a reason that they are villains. And for them, that becomes their mission that they're willing to die for.
that's crazy. It's when you say this, I like when I was under the victim mentality, it made me realize that I was in control. I had perceived myself based upon my trauma that was in or placed upon me as like this bad kid, which ended up growing into being this quote unquote bad man. And then I just accepted that for myself, where I was walking around and telling people like I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and I was like, why did I keep on putting these images or these beliefs on me, these titles on me, and then thinking that my life was going to get better? I had to understand that these were opportunities for me to grow. These were opportunities for me to learn a lesson. And once I started learning the lesson, whether it was bad relationships, whether it was traumatic situations that my parents placed upon me, once I learned the lessons in these situations, then I became who you see now, where I can tell people my story and it can help them accept their trauma. It sounds like it sounds fucked up when you say, "Oh, I did it to myself," and I was a bad person, and this and that. When you say all this stuff, and then you're like, "Oh, well, I'm happy that it happened to me." Like I'll tell my kids all the time, I'm like, "The shit that I went through, I'm happy that I went through it and I embrace it, because now I have something that I can tell you to help assist you in your journey. I'm thankful that it happened to me and it doesn't happen to you, or I can bring awareness if it does happen to you, because now I can use my trauma or my darkness or my shadow as a light to steer you or help you find the light upon your journey." And that's kind of the things, is that we look at the shadow, we look at the darkness, and we say, oh, this is bad and this is good. But the question is, if you were the only human being on earth that ever existed, would good or bad exist? No.
Exactly.
It's perspective. It's the way that you perceive it. Something bad to me may be good to you. I say it all the time to like people that I speak to in the hood or whatever. I'll sit here and say, if you killed my brother, right, I'm gonna perceive that as you doing bad. But if my brother did something to one of your family members, you're gonna perceive yourself as good. So at that point, the perspective or good or bad is just only based upon us. It doesn't
Yep.
truly exist. It's only how you perceive it. So
No, absolutely. Exactly. It's whatever we assign to it, whatever we've taught ourselves. The narrative that we think that something is good or bad is really just us not willing to see that the thing we chose was the thing that we thought was beneficial to us.
mm,
Right. So it's like, okay, when we see some country in the world, right, like go and attack another country and kill their citizens and their women and children and everything, and we say that's evil, we have to stop that evil. So then we go and we send troops over and we invade a country and we kill women and children. And that's not evil.
it's all evil. It's about how
The
you
thing is
perceive it.
that we perceive that it benefits us.
Yeah.
And if it benefits us, then it's not evil. It's good. It's righteous. And we're taught this in the Bible even. It's like in the Old Testament, it's like, okay, go into this place called Amalek and kill every man, woman, and child and kill all their cattle and everything. And this is what the Lord God has commanded you to do, to go kill them all, to wipe the face of the earth of this scourge, right? And that's not evil.
It's definitely evil. It's and that, like when people say that, when people bring up these theories, and like I, maybe I'm wrong, whatever. I'm an extremist, so I'm gonna say it is like what we've been told about Hitler. Yeah, we can all agree he did bad shit, right? But we never ask what happened to bring him onto this point. I've said this millions of times, is that you couldn't introduce me to a 3-year-old Hitler and say that this is a bad kid and I could believe it. The point is that something had to happen in order to lead these people into this journey. I don't know, and I've looked it up. I haven't seen why Hitler actually did the things that he did. Did somebody attack his mom? Did they kill his family? Like all these things happen. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe you know, but
That's because
that's
Hitler was Jewish.
whoa.
He was. Look it up.
That's crazy. I did not know that. I did
So
not know
so
that.
it's like why do so we have people that do things like gay bashing, right?
Yeah.
Very often the people that perform the gay bashing are gay themselves and they're in denial of it. It's just like the movie American Beauty,
Yeah.
right? Where Kevin Spacey ends up getting killed by the neighbor across the street because he's out working out every day and the neighbor across the street wanted to like have sex with him. And so he had antipathy for the temptation, right? That was being perpetrated on him by the neighbor.
Mm.
So he had to go kill him. We very often do the thing. In fact, that's almost what we exclusively do. We do the thing that we judge others negatively for. It's the exact same case of, oh, this country's coming in here. They're attacking another country, and that country, they have innocent women and children. They're getting wiped out. So we need to send forces and troops there to do that, right? To stop that, to stop the scourge. And then we do the exact same thing that we were basically saying was evil and needed to be fixed.
Mm.
But then really the whole reason for it was, well, that country had oil and now we have rights over those reserves. So what happens is we do whatever we will and we justify it by saying it's the only moral imperative. We
Perspective.
do that every day,
Yeah.
every freaking day. The only thing that is unique about it is not recognizing that that's what we're doing. And then finally we wake up one day and say, shit, that's what I've been doing. Whoa. And that's when you confront your shadow.
Yeah, let's talk about that confronting the shadow. Like everybody, like I tell people when it comes to spirituality, because I don't like to claim anything outside of myself. First of all, I don't like to claim black, white, mix. I'm God. Forgive me if you don't understand me. There's nothing I can do if you don't understand what I'm saying, then this message isn't meant for you. But I feel that when I accepted spirituality, my family members or my friends, they would say, "Oh, you're spiritual, man. You can't drink liquor, or you can't smoke weed, or you can't do this." And I said, "No, this is how I perceive it, is that if you're too far right or you're too far left, then you're an extremist." I sat down with a Buddhist monk last year around this time, and one thing that he taught me is going beyond duality and learning how to work with both. If you bust into my house and you trying to harm my wife and my children, chances are you're gonna meet my motherfucking shadow. Excuse my words. But that's what people don't understand, is that sometimes you have to use the shadow for the greater good. When I'm in the gym and I'm pushing weights, I'm using that shadow, my trauma, my demons, my demon side. I'm using that to push that weight, because I can't go to the gym and be like, "Oh, today's a beautiful day." It doesn't work that way. You have to accept the shadow. I agree with you 100%, but a lot of people in religious, structures or religious beliefs or any type of structure, they think that you only operate in the good, and I personally think that that's BS. I think that that doesn't work. You look at our backgrounds. My background is completely dark. Yours is light. There we go. They both have to coexist. Look how powerful this conversation is by working with both. That's what people
Yeah,
don't understand.
it's like when you finally can become friends and acquainted with your shadow. Like I've
Mm.
always had a shadow. Trust me. It's like people would always say, "Robert, how is it that you could fall into a pile of shit and always come out somehow smelling like a rose?"
Mhm.
And I would say, because of my shadow. Because like I'm this kid who's like this big imagining, I have these big imaginations, I have these dreams, I could take on anything, and I never believed it when someone told me I couldn't do something. And telling me that if something was impossible was the way to get me excited about doing that thing. Right? Like someone would say to me in my companies, they would say, "Oh, I don't know, Robert, that seems like a really big challenge. I don't think you might not have the backbone for that."
Mm.
That's like throwing down the gauntlet to me, right? It's like, "Oh yeah, motherfucker, you watch. I'm going to come back, and then the thing that you said was impossible, I'm going to be saying, yeah, can."
That shit felt good too, being able to come back and be like, "I shitted on you. You thought I couldn't overcome this? Look at me now. Look at what I've overcame. You thought that I wouldn't make it through this. You thought it was unbelievable. Look at me now. Look how much I've elevated." And then the crazy thing is that you're inspiring people. When you come back and you say, "Hey, look what I did," you're inspiring them, even though you step into that ego and you're a little cocky and you're showing off a little bit. You're still inspiring people, because if they really can take it in, they can say, "Oh shit, Tuesday did this, Robert did this. Imagine what I can do if I just dedicated the time." I don't know if you said it or somebody else said it, but they said without there being a struggle, there wouldn't be room for growth. You wouldn't be able to experience the growth, the abundance of life, if you didn't push against the grain, if you didn't have a struggle in life.
Absolutely. It's the struggling. So I said this on this last call I just did, right? Which is, you know, judgment is the source of all suffering and struggle by extension. And suffering is the source of all enlightenment.
Mm.
When you realize that there was a purpose for the suffering and that you could contextualize that suffering, that's what brings you enlightenment. Enlightenment becomes a series of softenings, a series of awakenings that turn your pain into purpose, and the lead of your suffering and difficulty and challenge and struggle into the gold of your soul evolution. That's alchemy. So this whole thing is starting to realize, okay, I have a shadow, and my shadow used to be, it's like, I used to have a name for him. My shadow is named Roberto.
Oh wow, he was Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, he was a badass. He was like, he'd pull out a can of whoop ass, and like all of a sudden, somehow the little boy would like disappear, and this bull would come in.
Mm.
That's why he was Spanish, because he was a freaking bull and it's like going to take out the matador. Doesn't matter, right? And I don't know if you've seen these videos of these bulls and these bullfights, which I think it's a reprehensible sport, but when
It's
like the
crazy.
bullfight, the bull will figure out with these doors to put its horns underneath it and lift up the door and then jump out and then
Yeah.
just go at everybody, right? That was my shadow. Oh yeah. And then when you got me really angry, then I would just go silent and then everyone would go inside the ice box.
Mm. What's that ice box like?
It's like outer darkness, man. You don't know. And then like you just won't even show up in my world again.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to die. You're not going to be. I'll read something about you sometime in the future. I'll feel some nostalgia for our time together. But then, like literally, the Taurus is the archetype that could just say, you know what? You hurt me. You will never see me again. You'll never be in my world again. And so
Mm.
that's the type of stuff that I used to do. I would basically, it's like in Pulp Fiction. You've seen Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
right? Where Mr. Wolf comes to clean up the dead body and stuff for the guy
Mm.
that accidentally gets shot in the head in the back of
Mm.
the car, right?
Yeah.
I that was me in a way. I'd have a Mr. Wolf side of me that would like take over, clean up whatever was necessary, and we all have it, by the way.
Isn't that so beautiful though? Like I tell people it's so beautiful that you have that side of you. It's just about learning how to use these things, learning how to use that side of you when the time is right. It's so beautiful. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, look, I'm so lovey-dovey, and she's like, you're so soft, you're this and that. I say, I promise you, the day you see somebody try to hurt you, the day you really gonna see the other side of me, the one that I don't want you to see, but I would love for you to see, so you know who's protecting you, so you know who is here and who represents you. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful about it. Like there's so many things that we're taught that is bad, but it's so beautiful. In the last like 7 years, I lost like 8, 9 people. And when it first started happening, it was with my best friend. And I did not understand it. It was like, how could this happen? It was kind of like Ash and Gary in Pokemon. We were at a race to who can, capture the most Pokemon, or who can meet at the top when in the music industry. And when he died, I felt like I no longer had that competitor, to go back and be like, hey, hey, I got this new song. I want you to hear it. Or I got better than you.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have that. But then as I got older, things started transforming, and I perceived it now, or I perceive it now to the point where I'm like, one, he's just out in the world. He's transcended out in the world and he's enjoying life. But two, I am thankful that I had the opportunity to experience him, to experience my brother, to experience that challenge, to experience that competitiveness with this person, because I haven't found that in anyone else. He's the only person that I've been able to experience in this life on that level. And I'm thankful for that. I am so thankful that I have the opportunity to experience that. But it's beautiful because now he's completed his journey on this realm of reality and this level. So when you can take that in and you can appreciate it, it's so beautiful. Death is beautiful. It's beautiful to see people complete the journey, but also have the capability to be able to sit back and say, damn, I'm thankful I got to experience this person, because this person over there on the other side of the world, they probably didn't get to experience a person on this type of level. That's what's
Yeah.
beautiful about life, is that things that are perceived as bad are actually super beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all, at some point, we finally come to that realization that the things that we thought were ugly and bad and should be avoided, when we finally do get to a stage of enlightenment, these things become beautiful and become divine. What is divinity? Divinity is when you find this perfect balance of these energies, the dark and the light, the male and the female. Divine and the universal one, God, is perfectly balanced. It's not being all good, it's not being all light that makes it divine. It's the balance of the two that makes it divine.
When you say this, I'm telling you. So within the last like 4 or 5 weeks since we set this up, I went through your
Mm-hmm.
content. You led me to go read or to go watch the Da Vinci Code again. I started, all when I tell you, listen, when I tell you synchronicity and divine connection is so beautiful. So I was speaking with this girl on a podcast. Her name's Starlight. A couple months ago, she was telling me about her experience in past life with Mary Magdalene, right? So then I started listening to you talk about Mary Magdalene and divine femininity and masculinity, right? And then so I went back and watched the Da Vinci Code. And what I realized is that the balance of masculinity and femininity equal life, equal God, right? And then I started understanding these things about myself. Not only do I have to be a masculine man, but I have to be a feminine man too. I have to love my children. I have to, nurture my children. I have to step into my femininity. So not only that, when I took my wife, when we got married, I leveled up. And I will tell you this is that before I was more aggressive and this and that and trying to prove to people that I'm this masculine man. But then once my wife came into my life, she bossed me up. And she showed me that I don't have to always be this street guy or this tough guy and this and that. But not only that, she allowed me to take off some of that masculinity and be able to be at home and feel fulfilled now that I'm a family man. So when I started hearing about Mary Magdalene and Jesus, I was like, no, I believe that Mary Magdalene had to exist because in order for a man to step into that space of femininity, there has to be something that creates balance. And then when I was watching the Da Vinci Code, I never looked at the Last Supper painting, and I never even paid attention that Mary Magdalene was in it. That's what the Last Supper, right? I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
notice that Mary Magdalene was in it, but then I zoomed in and then I seen your post and I was like, yo, this shows right here that that balance has to exist. And based
Mm-hmm.
upon things that I've read,
Mm-hmm.
is that Mary
Mm-hmm.
Magdalene actually helped Jesus step into his consciousness level and stepping into that how can I say, like the Christ energy, the Christ consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. If it weren't for Mary Magdalene, Christ would have never been ascended. He wouldn't become the avatar that we know him to be, right? That's the whole point. It was through the balance. Again, divinity is not, this is so important. Divinity is not being all good. It's being comfortable in your perfected balance that is divinity.
Mm.
Imagine if God felt shame for all of his darkness. What if I told you that there's like this song that came out in the 90s. It's like, what if God was one of us?
Oh yeah.
Just a slob like one of us.
There's a rapper named Kevin Gates who actually made a song like that. It's like, if God was one of us in the club like one of us. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. This is crazy.
God is one of us in the club, and it's you.
Yes. Yes.
So this is the point that, we tend to have our own conception of what God is. And if God wanted to play a game with himself, he would never play a game where he had all of his, or she had, and when I ever say he, it's just because we have no term
Yeah,
for this. I don't like the word
absolutely.
it's too impersonalized.
I agree.
But God is not male or female.
Mm.
It's both. It's both. The balance of opposites. But let's say you and I were both divine, and we are, but we just didn't know it. And in the context of knowing it, we'd say, let's play a game. Let's divide ourselves up so that we can perceive ourselves more significantly, more deeply, because an eye can't see itself without the aid of a mirror. So I got to create a mirror. I'm going to create you. I tear myself in two just for the purpose of meeting you.
Mm. That's a bar. That's what we say
Mm-hmm.
in hip hop. That's a bar.
I tear myself in two just for the purpose of meeting you. And so I do that many, many times over so that I can experience many me's, the different aspects of me, the different facets. And I think each one of them is a fact, but actually they're just facets of me. So we then decide we're going to play a game. So what's the game going to be? The game's going to be poker. So you and I are going to play poker. Would it ever make sense for us to be omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent playing poker.
Mm.
It wouldn't be a very fun game.
Yeah.
I would know the hand you're going to be dealt. I would know how you're going to respond to that hand. I would know, and you would know how I'm going to be dealt and how I'm going to respond to that hand and how I'm going to play my next hand and all my hands going forward.
It'd be boring.
You know, in most games, once it becomes obvious that there's a clear winner, they call the game. So if everything was omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, then they'd have to call the game at the beginning of every game because you'd know who could win the game. It would be boring. The only game that makes sense is to play a game where each one of us has different talents. And the rest of our supernatural abilities are grayed out like a software. We don't have access to it until we find new aspects of ourselves. And we have to perform a hero's journey to realize why we're here. And we would hide these Easter eggs through our personality and through all of our experiences. And we'd call it a hero's journey. That's the game we'd play.
So everybody has the opportunity to be, you can be the hero or you can be the villain. It's really up to you on how you perceive it. Like, and that's why I tell people, like, people don't understand when I say, hey, I glitched out the matrix. And when I say this, it means that I can move within the world however I choose. If I need money, I can go do a mission to get money. If I just want to, do bad shit, I can go out and do bad shit. It's my choice on how I live this life.
Mm-hmm.
I choose
Mm-hmm.
me. I choose a slower
Exactly.
life. I choose how I want to perceive things. And not only that, is that when you become conscious of this, then you can learn to not take things so personal. That's one thing I stopped doing is I was like, I don't need to take this personal. I can, and in my sense, or what I've been running with lately is quantum standing, right? Where I
Yep.
can take myself out of the situation and watch it, let myself interact with how I need to.
You can
Don't take
observe
it
it without
personal.
judging it.
Exactly. And it feels so good. It's so beautiful. It's like I don't think that people understand it. People think like when we talk about Matrix, they always refer to the movie. No, we're talking about the construct, the womb of the reality right now. The room. And in every room that you go into is a different matrix and you play a different character. Right now, the Robert Edward Grant that I'm talking to isn't the Robert Edward Grant you are when you're in the bedroom. This like it's these are all different versions of ourselves. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm not I'm not Tuesday Night Swim, the husband right now. I'm Tuesday Night Swim, the guy who's on the podcast speaking to you. But you can choose.
By the way, when you learn to merge with your shadow, you get much better in the bedroom.
Oh, facts.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, I got 5 kids. You heard it first. I got the 6 on the way. I'm telling you
Holy
right
shit,
now.
bro.
You feel what I'm
Damn.
saying?
I
So
yeah, well,
I think I messed around in the shadow
I
too
have
much.
4 and I already thought I was like, what the heck? But like 5 and 6 on the way. Damn. That's whew. You know it's funny because I'm totally authentic, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Why not? So, I've got 4 kids. I'm 55 years old. And, I'm like living my best life. I'm just doing my thing. And I find myself at the stage of my life single again. Right. It is what it is. I've spent almost 30 years of my life married to 3 wonderful women that I feel very lucky to have known.
At the same time?
And no, not at the same
I
time. I
was
used to
like,
be Mormon, but not that kind of Mormon. Yeah, no, 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 no. I was this. I spent 10 years almost with each woman. And I was good husband for 10 years. I liked that, but then you realize that you start changing, and every cell in your body, almost every single cell, is turning over every 7 years. Some turn over on a day-to-day basis. Some turn over every 7 years. Some still remain in your spinal column, et cetera. So there's a few that still remain for longer periods of time, but generally it's 7 years. So that means that when you get married to somebody, you're literally a different person once you've been married to them for 7 years. And this is why 7 years is what they have called the 7-year itch. of
Mm.
marriages, right? And a lot of them fall apart. And you ask the man, why are you getting divorced? And the man will almost invariably say, you know what? She totally changed from the person I married. She used to like football. She used to like sex. She
Mm.
used to like doing all kinds of other things that now she no longer likes at all. And she became this totally different person. She aged quickly or something, not just in her physical form, but mainly in her mental form.
Mm.
And the physical just followed the mental. And then you ask the woman, why do you want to get divorced from him? And she says, because he never fucking changed. He never grew up. He's still playing video
Facts.
games.
Facts. Yes.
He
Yes.
never became the man I thought he was going to become. So then you start realizing, wait a minute, both of them standing at the marriage altar had different expectations on reality. The man expected that the woman would never change,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman expected the man would entirely change,
Mm.
but never did. And the woman should have been, this youthful, beautiful woman who likes to play football, likes to do these things. So she grew up also, and she totally changed. She liked different things. And so I've started to change the way I look at what is the purpose of relationships. I start realizing now that everyone who comes into my life, even you, Tuesday, coming into my life as a new friend, are coming in for a reason. You're reflecting a certain aspect of me that I need to become aware of, that I'm not presently aware of.
I love it.
Right. And so that's how I look at it. And so I can experience miracles and synchronicities by getting to know you. And this becomes a new way of learning myself, because I don't experience the world as it is. I experience it as I am. So relationships are here as triggers. The thing that you are triggered by is the thing that is the opposite of what you intended to learn. So I just did this post. I'll read some of these to you. It actually came out really good. You may have seen it on my Instagram a few days ago. And basically, it says this: anything causing hatred is teaching you forgiveness.
Yep. I'm with you. I agree. I think I
Anyone
liked
who
it.
abandons you is teaching you how to stand up on your own 2 feet. Anything causing anxiety is teaching you to surrender.
Mm.
Anything that angers you is teaching you compassion. Anyone who triggers doubt is teaching you trust in yourself. Anything that makes you jealous is teaching you gratitude. Anything that causes pain is teaching you healing.
So everything is teaching you the opposite,
The
that
moment, for
balance.
example, like if you feel jealous at somebody's success, the moment you no longer feel that jealousy and triggered by it, you could be around them and still just feel grateful and feel good about them. That's the moment you're about to get a whole ton of abundance levied on you.
That's it's so beautiful when you can acknowledge these things. I was gonna say, the thing about it is I'm about to be 8 years in my marriage, and I tell my wife all the time. I'm like, when we first got together, right? Her thing, she didn't believe me. This is so I have two baby mamas and a wife, right? Anyways, so I told my wife before we had children, I said, you're gonna go through a change. And she said, I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna like football. I'm gonna like basketball. We still gonna do wild things. And I told her, I said, no. The reason why these relationships didn't work with my other two baby mamas, they changed. And I didn't understand that. As a 22-year-old kid and an 18-year-old kid, I didn't understand that these women that I thought I loved at the time were gonna change. I didn't understand that. But with my wife, I told her, I said, you're gonna go through a change. The difference is in this situation, I know you're going to change and I'm going to be here when you change. But remember when we come back to this, that I can tell you, hey, you changed, right? So now we're on our fourth kid together and I'm like, look how much you changed. It's beautiful, but you have to acknowledge that you changed. I have still stayed the same. I'm still a child. I'm still a kid. All of me and my kids, we have video games set up in our living room. We have a whole gaming station. We play four or quads on Fortnite all together. And I tell my wife, I say, look, the thing about it, I think Saguru said it, is that you should be learning from your children how to be a child. I am still a child. This is the only time I'm going to experience life like this. Until I die, I will be a child, which means I have the opportunity to experience life at the highest level by sitting with it and enjoying every single moment. So every single day, it's a brand new opportunity to seize the moment and have fun. We are still children. You are not an old person. No matter how old you think you are, you're still young to the universe, right? You're still old to earth. I mean, you're still young to earth. So at that point, you're still a child. So right now is the opportunity to have fun. Don't take life too serious, because we all know at the end of it, it ends. The game ends. So
Yeah,
so
totally.
so so let's have fun. And I tell my wife, like, when she goes through postpartum, I said, it's okay, like, we'll get through this together, but let's have fun. But on the other side, I also noticed this, is that before, when I was a single independent man, or individual man, I should say, is that I always wanted a family. I always wanted, a partner, a companion to really experience life on this level. But now, 8 years into marriage, I find, and if you take, like I said, if you take this wrong, I don't care. It's not for you. But I find so much joy when I'm by myself now. Sitting in meditation, and I go sit at the park.
Totally.
I go have fun by myself. I don't need to go chill with my homies at the bar and go to the club and have sex with all these women. I don't need to take on any more trauma in my life. No more drama, no more trauma. I'd rather go to the park, sit by myself. I'm 30, I'm about to be 35 in February. Go sit by myself, read a book, hug a tree, and I'm telling you, it makes me feel so good. I feel like I'm at the club. I feel like I'm at the bar. I feel like I'm around, whatever people think that is fun. It makes me feel good. And it's not to take away from the elements of having a family. It's the fact is that now it just feels good to be isolated and be able to be in control of my thoughts, my emotions, and enjoy life by myself at times.
So beautiful. I'd love to see people like, hardcore, like gangster style rap people, like hugging trees in the park.
All my friends think it's weird when I tell them, yo, everybody wants to hang out. Man, Tuesday, you don't hang out with us no more. I'm like, yo, come hang out with me. Come to the park. I took one of my homies a couple weeks ago. It's a little cold outside. I said, take your socks off. Take your socks off. We gonna put our feet in the dirt. He was like, man, I ain't gonna put my feet in the dirt. Man, here you go. He walking around in the dirt with me. We sitting there talking. I'm like, nah, look, let me show you this tree I like. His name Orpheus. He's like, Orpheus. I'm like, yeah, he told me his name is Orpheus. Come hug the tree. We sat there for like 10, 15 minutes hugging trees. And he told me, he was like, bro, I feel so happy. I just grieved the loss of my child. And here I am
Oh.
feeling good, just coming to the park. Like, I feel good. I feel healed. And that's the thing, is like, if something as the club, which makes you feel low vibrational, is it truly making you feel good? Let's be real. Liquor, spirits is an elixir what keeps you at a low vibrational state, right? And then if you go hug a tree, it's going to raise your frequency, and you're going to feel as if you drank an energy drink. You're going to feel charged up, and you're going to
So
feel
true.
renewed.
So true.
So why wouldn't we do this? And when I show people this at first, they like people message me. They'll be like, "Yo, Tuesday, you out there walking in your motherfucking feet, putting your feet in dirt and hugging trees and this and that. You weird." I'm like, "No, you're weird. You're the weird one, because you think that it feels good to put poison in your body. Not to say drinking is good or bad, but if you're abusing it, you're an extremist. So at that point, just try it. Try it, and then let me know how you feel. I tell people all the time,
I
meditation
love it,
saved my
bro.
life. It saved my life. I've been on depression medication. I've been on all this stuff. I tried pills. I tried lean. I tried all these drugs. Women, had sex with all these women, and nothing cured my depression more than meditation, more than hugging a tree. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, first of all, I'm not surprised by that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's extremely beautiful. But, I think that whatever it is, and it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be any kind of sensory attachment that we have. It could be sex with a lot of women or a lot of men if you're a woman, right? These things are all things that people think they need. The
Mm.
person who is truly enlightened needs nothing. And what is meditation but finding the still point of the nothingness,
Yes.
right? The way that you are able to attract everything is when you're comfortable being in the place of nothingness. Think about that for a moment, because you're comfortable in the lack. You're comfortable in the aloneness. Therefore, you don't need people to be around you. You become comfortable in the loneliness. Therefore, you have power over your environment.
Mm.
There's nothing that you need. So when we need nothing, we become enlightened.
You have everything when you have nothing.
That's right. You've learned to transcend everything. The person who suffers from fear of heights, the best thing they can do is learn to overcome their fear of heights. So they might go to a high location and get used to climbing around just to get used to it. And then eventually they've leaned into it enough that they're no longer held back by their fear of heights. It no longer has power over them. They've learned to transcend it.
Mm.
Falling in love with duality is learning to fall in love with the game that is duality, that it exists for a reason. It's not here to punish you. It's not here to make your life crazy difficult. It's here to transcend you. It's here so that you can become aware that duality itself becomes a necessary aspect of divinity realization.
I love how you
The
break it down.
judgment is a source of suffering, but suffering is a source of enlightenment and the return to the divine. All of this can be found in the still. That's why meditation becomes so critically important. It can all be found in the stillness of the nothingness. So getting acquainted with your dark, getting acquainted with that nothingness, realizing that you need nothing to be happy. That's why I like to fast. Fasting helped me break my attachment from food. I had this belief system that, I was probably one of these people that would comfort eat. It's like, I've had a bad day. Oh, I'm going to eat more calories today. Give me some fried chicken or something. It's like, I'm going to eat something shitty for me because that's going to give me comfort. What a fallacy that is.
Yeah.
But that was a different form of addiction. I didn't have the addictions to drugs or alcohol and such. I probably had addiction to not being alone. I used to be very uncomfortable being alone. When I was a CEO, and I would seek it out. So success, I would get lots of validation from people because like I could succeed and then they would give me the validation. And then I realized as soon as it didn't benefit them for them to be around in my world, then the only reason why they were there was because it did benefit them. They weren't true friends.
Facts.
You finally find your true friends when you don't feel like you need any. It's just like when you go to a bank and you want to get credit and the bank says, oh, you need credit to get credit. Well, how do I get credit? Well, you have to have a credit history.
It's like jobs.
It's a catch-22. Yeah. Well, to get a good job, you need a job history. But then how do you get a job history without a job? Not my problem. Go figure it out.
Facts. It's like, do I
Until
want a
finally you
job?
break the code. Then you break the code and you realize, oh, I fake it till I make it, which is what I did. I'm not ashamed of it. Most of the time, people would come to me and say, you can't do that. I'd be like, yes, I can. But you've never done it before. So I'll
Mm.
figure it out. I'll become a master at adaptability. I'll adapt to whatever situation and I'll be able to succeed in that situation. That became my mantra. Then I was no longer afraid of losing my job because I knew I could adapt to any situation and I could make money. It was like overcoming the fear of heights or the fear of falling in love and being vulnerable.
Mm.
Get so good at being vulnerable and embrace it so much that you become comfortable having your heart broken. And that is what will expand your heart because the heart never truly breaks. It's only the ego that does. The heart only expands.
Love it. I love it. The more that you're like the way that you break it down, first of all, the way that you break it down is crazy because I never could use these analogies in the way that you break it down. It's so beautiful. I was gonna say that that's the form of like enlightenment is really understanding how you perceive these things, how you learn the lesson. It's always an opportunity for growth. We're in a new place in time, right? Where we have the opportunity to learn these lessons to transcend. You have to sit back and learn these things. It's one of these things that I talked to my dad and he's like, I wish that we had more time together. I wish that we spent more time. I've been to jail and this and that. And I say, hey, thank you. When I was young, I looked at my dad and I was like, why you wasn't there, this, and that. Then I had to change how I perceived it because I'm 35 years old now. And I had to put myself and say, what was my dad dealing with? What did life throw at him? And he probably wasn't on the conscious level that I'm at, right? And I had to tell him, I was like, you know what, Dad? Thank you. You suffered. You gave me this trauma, generational curses, we call them, but you taught me a valuable lesson because even though I didn't truly meet you until I was about 16 years old, every
Mm-hmm.
single day that my son wakes up, I'm here because I realized that my dad not being in my life helped me become the great father that I am. I know all of my children. I've seen all of my children born. So all I can say, and this goes back to that, the hero becoming the villain or the villain becoming the hero. My dad played the villain in my life at some point, but in all actuality, if I'm doing good things in life, doesn't that make him the hero? So I'm thankful. I'm thankful that you suffered because your suffering led to me becoming the great father that I am. See, we look at our trauma in our life and we say, poor me, poor me. Why the fuck did I go through this? Da 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 da. No, thank you. The things that I'm going through, my children can look at them and become better beings, better experiences. They can experience
Absolutely.
their life so much better. I tell my dad, I'm like, hey, thank you for all the times that you went to jail because I'll never go to jail. I've never been to jail. I never want to go to jail. I never thought it was cool to join a gang, to be a real gangster, a thug, or all this. I think that's bullshit. So I thank you. Thank you for the trauma. Thank you for going through all this. Thank you for selling drugs because I never sold drugs. I never thought that was cool. And I thank you because now I have the opportunity to show my son what I believe a man is, what I think that a man should do. And so that's why I say, like, people look at their trauma, they apply the victim mentality. Well, my dad was an alcoholic and I'm an alcoholic too. My parents beat me and I turned out okay. No, fuck no. When my parents used to hit me, I used to say all the time, this is not love. I would get whooped and I would say to my mom, I love you. My dad punched me in my face and I turn around and say, I love you. That ain't love. You not giving me love. Now when I discipline my son, I speak to him. I don't, these are to protect my children. These ain't here to harm my children. And I'm not here to bash nobody who hits their kid or anything like that. But I look at those things and I take notes. Well, my dad failed at this. Well, how can I win? Well, my dad took this path. My mom took this path. How can I win? And that's learning that alchemy, right? Is learning the lesson in every situation and learning how to transform that into something good. I've never been truly addicted to anything. So with that being said, when
Mm-hmm.
you can learn these things, then you can manipulate your reality. We're in a age, I say, like I'm working on this book, right? And I say it, we're living in a world where stuff from Harry Potter, the Avengers, and aliens all exist. It's literally breaking down in front of us every single day. You're looking at things and you say, this shit kind of look fake. I watched the debate and I'm like, man, this shit look like two actors trying to portray something or give us a show. It looks like bullshit. And then you have orbs in the sky and all, like it is just, how did we think like life was so serious and all this other shit was fake? But yet it's unveiling and unraveling right in front of our eyes every single day. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's my thing is like, if you can say that Jesus walked on water and all this other shit, chances are all this other stuff exists. And then I did like a connection, a weird connection when I was watching what is that? The Da Vinci Code. I made a connection where I was like, wait, what if I'm pretty sure Mary Magdalene had a child, right? That child had children. That child had children, so on and so forth. So now you get into the people who have magic powers now. What type of coincidence? And then I was like, okay, and this may be off the rails, but then I made the connection with the Salem witches or whatever. I was like, okay, there has to be some type of truth that makes these connections, and that for me, that would prove that Jesus exists and maybe he had the powers that he had, because you have people right now who have these powers, who have these gifts, and people say, "Oh, it's not real." You got people talking to the dead. You got people who doing spells and all this other shit. If Jesus exists and Mary Magdalene exists and they had a child, then chances are this child connects to all these other people with powers. So,
Yep.
so we're truly living in this world that people thought was fake. Aliens and magic, Harry Potter and the Avengers with AI and all. Bro, it's right here in front of your face. You don't see it?
Oh, I'm going to show you something I've never showed anyone.
Go ahead. Let me see. Let me make sure that I can like see it.
And it might actually blow your mind.
Let's see.
So, because you
Wait, is
asked
it
the
on this?
question about
Is it on the screen?
it's going to be, yeah.
Okay, okay. I had to make sure like I didn't have to like allow it or something. But go ahead.
All right. So this is, let me just fix this first. Let's see. All right. So this is a painting that was found, and I'll tell you, I don't know where it is right now, but someone showed it to me. They showed it to me, and it's a Da Vinci painting that no one knows about.
Oh shit. Oh
Okay.
wow.
And it was found, right? It was found. Um, you're seeing the boundary of this painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see it? You know who that is?
That's Mary.
Mary Magdalene.
And those are her children. Is that a boy and a girl?
Yeah. Okay. And so this was uh found, and I won't give the story. I mean, I was not involved in it. I don't have access to it. I don't even know where it is today, but someone sent me the picture of it because they wanted me to see if there's any encryptions in it. And there are. And actually there's an alien right here on the side. If you look, see if we can zoom in on this. There's an alien face. Here's his
Oh
eye.
shit.
Right here's
Yep.
his eye, is his
The
mouth,
nose. Yeah. Oh yeah.
those, and he's wearing a crown. Do you see the crown?
Oh my God. You're giving me chills right now. This is crazy.
Yep.
That
And on
is
the back side of the
crazy.
painting, it
Oh, there's
has
another
a
one on the left
symbol.
side. There's
Yeah,
another
there
one on the
is.
left. Wow.
There's another one on the left, right over here.
Yeah.
So this is a painting that on the back side of it has actually a stamp and like a little framing thing and an official symbol of the Third Reich, the Nazis.
Mm.
So this was probably a painting that was taken by the Nazis. And if you ever saw that movie Monuments Men, it probably ended up somewhere in one of those bunkers.
Mm.
And the person who, enshrouded in secrecy got me this image so that I could actually see it and analyze it. Um, did it through other people, et cetera. So I have no idea where it is or where it's come from. So if anyone called me up and said, "Where's this missing Da Vinci painting?" I would not know. On the back side of it, it also said Leonardo da Vinci. So I believe that it's real, and I believe it is full of encryptions, and I know some of the encryptions, and I'll be probably do a post on it at some point.
This is mind blowing. And then it's crazy that they both have different color hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they have two different fathers.
Who's the
Ooh.
fathers?
Oh. Well, I'll just tell you that it's linked to another story that I'll show you real quick, and you might be able to figure it out.
Don't tell me. Wait. Is
it's gonna probably blow your mind though.
is it Jesus and the devil?
Um, maybe in some way, but it's you can find the answer in the Last Supper painting.
Oh shoot. Oh, now you got to pull it up.
I'm pulling it up. I've never talked about this with anybody.
This is cool. And this is why I find an interest in you because you can bring these discoveries out and it just blows your mind.
Yep.
It blows your
Okay.
mind.
So take the Last Supper. Okay. So here we go. And I will actually do this. Save image to photos. Okay. So here we go. All right. Here it is. Now, where's Mary Magdalene?
Right there.
Interesting, the same face.
Yeah.
Okay. And also the head kind of going down to the side. Also very similar to the one I just showed you, right? Now,
Mhm.
this face right here is Peter.
Yeah.
Peter was the same age as Jesus. Why does he look so much older?
Facts.
Right, what's that all about?
And
And
Jesus don't got no
maybe I
facial
could
hair.
see, yeah, I mean, Jesus, he does have some facial hair, but it's like, and first of all, this is not anything that Jesus would have actually looked like. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay. But this face I recognize somewhere else because actually that's the face of Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh shit.
Now, the face of Leonardo da Vinci is exactly this structure. And we can look at it. I'll pull up another one so that you could find the self portrait by Leonardo. Leonardo da Vinci self portrait. And you're going to see this is an older version of the same person because this was done when he was 67. And when he was doing the Last Supper, he was in his late 40s.
Mm.
You see that?
Mm.
Okay, so now this is
That's the
him in
same.
his.
Same nose, same face. Yeah, same face.
So, what is Da Vinci trying to tell us? Well, I believe I know. This is the face. And by the way, the face of Mona Lisa as well. I did a post on this last week when I was in Egypt. And you can see how they're perfectly matching, which I'll show you in just a second. But this is the face of Leonardo da Vinci superimposed on the face of Peter. And and it was the age that Leonardo would have been at the time that he painted this. Now, this is Judas holding the bag of silver, who was supposed to be the one who betrayed Jesus. That's why Jesus got his hand down on the right side and his hand up on the left. This is
Oh wow.
mercy. This is condemnation. And he doesn't want to look at them. He's turning away from them. You see
Mm.
it?
Yeah.
And then look, Bartholomew is looking right next to him, going, looking down at this, saying, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, I don't want no
And wait,
problems.
there's a knife. Why is he holding a knife in his hand? Is this his hand? Or is it Mary Magdalene's wrist that he's holding?
Oh
Holding
shit. Yeah, I
the
see it. I
knife.
I see it.
You see all this stuff? Like you
Yeah.
never noticed any of this stuff before, did you?
Mm.
And look at this. Why is there a pitch axe on the table right
I was
here?
gonna say,
This
what
is the
is
head of a
that?
pitch axe,
That's crazy.
right? And this is not just any knife. This is called the knife that's called the aj. This is the knife that is used in the ceremony of cutting of the mouth. When someone dies, this is what they would do during the embalming process. They would open up the throat and cut the mouth. And it has this exact shape. So what's all this symbolism doing in here? And why is Peter looking old when he's the same age as Jesus, approximately the same age? And by the way, if we look here on the wall, you'll notice that this side of the windowsill is concealed because of the perspective geometry. So we can see what looks like a letter right here. Looks like a backwards number 7, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then here you can see both sides of it. So it's the same shape as pi. And then here we only have this side. Well, these are Hebrew letters. Yod, He, Vav, backwards, because it's like a mirror. Yod, He, Vav is the name of God. I am that I am. It's the abbreviated name of God. Normally it would be Yod, He, Vav, He. But anciently they could just say Yod, He, Vav, and that was the abbreviation for God. It's God.
Mm.
So what is going on here? And why does Peter, who is reincarnated as Leonardo da Vinci, have his hand down the blouse of Mary Magdalene? And why is Mary Magdalene listening to Peter as he's whispering? What could he have to whisper to her about while Jesus is condemning? And look, they've even got her with looks like a fake hand right here. Where the two hands are being held together like this, and one of them looks like it's fake.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look real. It's like a prosthetic almost. It's not even alive. It's got a white color that's very bizarre.
That's super weird.
Where these hands look very different. This looks like a fake hand. So her other hand is here where he's holding her wrist. It'd be very hard for him to contort his wrist like that.
Yeah, I see it. His hands wrapped around her wrist. Yeah.
So, and they're sitting here conspiring together with Judas. Was Judas duped?
Wow.
So, was he having an affair with her? Yes.
Was Jesus's head tilted like that on the cross to the right?
Yeah. So, what's happening here? And they went to Egypt just before he got crucified. He came back to Jerusalem. This whole scene is actually giving us an encryption of the Great Pyramid's king's chamber. This room is the king's chamber. This is the sarcophagus. And you can even see a bull and a cow on the wall right here. Look, here are the horns. There's the cow. Here are the nostrils.
I see it.
You see it? Here's the ridge of its back.
Yep, I see it.
You see it? And the letter A right here, Alpha, Q, W.
Oh,
Alpha,
shit.
Chi, Omega. W is the lowercase omega. Here's the eye of a cow, and there's a bull, a small bull right here. And here's a Taurus symbol right on his forehead. Here's one of the eyes. Here's the other eye. Here's the nostrils. And that's matching what is exactly on the wall of the Great Pyramid in the king's chamber in the exact same spot. There's a bull and a cow on the north wall. This is the back wall. And on this exact same wall right here, you see there's an eye right here. You see this eye with a slit like a cat, even painted eyelashes.
Oh, I see him.
And if we look really close, this is the Son of God who's supposed to be the King of Kings. We look really, really close here. It's not going to let me zoom in more. Bummer. I'd have to take another shot. But if you look really close, there's a letter R right here, a letter E right here, and a G. R-E-G, which is king in Latin. Regulus is the star as well. Regulus. And it's in the Leo constellation, which the bull is on the north wall, which is Taurus. Leo is here on the west wall of the king's chamber, and it is in the king's chamber as well. And then this is the south wall, and we're looking at this whole scene from the age of Aquarius. And the king's chamber is full of all of these encryptions. That's what it is. Now, what was Leonardo da Vinci doing here? He painted his own face on top of Peter. And yes, I believe he was conspiring,
Yeah, it looks like it.
doesn't it?
It looks like
Hmm.
they planned something all together.
Yeah, maybe. Now, isn't it interesting that I just showed you a picture of Mary Magdalene with two children? I believe one of them was Peter's.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And why would this happen? Well, Jesus, this is going to sound sacrilegious, but Jesus fucked.
Facts. All these beautiful women, you gonna tell me you ain't take one?
In the Bible, even when he was, crucified and laid by Joseph of Arimathea into this holy sepulcher, there were women all waiting outside for him the next morning, right? There were women all around him all the time.
That's facts. That's crazy.
I think maybe there's more to this story of Mary Magdalene. And
Mm.
also Peter and Da Vinci painted it all as clues to learn our shadow collectively. Now, Da Vinci was also trying to tell us more because you could see as well, if we go into, you know, um, any one of, let's see, here we go, to IG, you could see the post I did last week. It's basically showing this. So I superimposed the picture of Leonardo, his self-portrait, on top of Mona Lisa and found this.
It's mind blowing.
Is that a trip or what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So literally, Leonardo's face is the same face as Mona Lisa. It's just he's showing one that's aged. And so when you superimpose them, you could see her through time.
Yeah, she, she got old.
All I did was reverse image, mirror image the Leonardo self portrait so that it's facing the same direction as the Mona Lisa face. And look, it's the proportions are all in the same spots. What a trip, right? Well, that's what I realized, that I kind of knew this a bit already, that all the paintings were connected. They're all meant to be superimposed, including the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin's face is the same one as the Salvator Mundi.
Wow.
And you can see the lotus flower coming out of the top of his head. This is some photograph technique. Leonardo faked the Shroud of Turin.
That's
And it
wild.
all fits inside of the Vitruvian Man. Look at even this. The bottom of the chest, the lines basically fit perfectly around his chin. It gives him a stronger jawline. The eyes of Vitruvian Man end up exactly over the nostrils. And this becomes like a bobblehead. And the bottom of the chest is framing both the Shroud of Turin's chin,
Oh
giving him a
yeah.
stronger chin line. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It looks like a cleft chin a little bit.
Yep,
That's wild.
dude, our life is not what we think it is. We're here to learn acceptance for all of our dark aspects. not to remain ignorant of those dark aspects.
Mm-hmm.
We do all the things that benefit us, and we call it the only ethical imperative. Just follow the money, follow the benefit. It might not be money. It could be social benefit, reputational. Whatever we think benefits us becomes our ethics. There's no such thing as ethics. There's only perspectives
Absolutely, I agree.
and self-interest and self-preservation.
Mm.
So all of these paintings by Leonardo, they're all meant to be overlaid on top of one another, just like this. I realized there was a cipher that connected all of them. You just place Mona Lisa with this shackle right here on the side into the square of Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, so that the hands of the Vitruvian Man go end to end of the painting. And then notice her head is crowned by the circle of Vitruvian Man, and his feet end up on the same block that her hands are resting on. And does his wrist fall inside of the shackle that's hanging out there? Yes, it does. It's perfect, like a lock and key.
That's crazy.
What a trip, right? So then you take the Last Supper painting, has a 2-to-1 proportion of the King's Chamber, and place it around the circle. And then you'll find all of these new correspondences. The rivers and the road in back of Mona Lisa are actually making Kundalini rising snakes. It's teaching us that everything we think is separate is actually just fractals of separation of source. And look, Da Vinci put 3 diamonds on the abs of Vitruvian Man. Those are the 3 pyramids, man.
The Orion, yeah, the Orion's belt.
And they fit exactly in the Yod He Vav, which is then telling us that from the top view, this is the sarcophagus, is a portal.
Oh.
And right here, that's the Sphinx. The Sphinx is right on top of the brain of Jesus, the right brain of Jesus, telling us how to access the Shekinah, the divine feminine. That's what this letter He means, the God mind, the balance between conscious mind, Vitruvian Man, and divine masculine, and subconscious mind, divine feminine, into a superconscious mind. The central window matches the proportions of the King's Chamber, so that sarcophagus has to move from the back of the room to the center of the room. And we discovered all of these petroglyphs on the walls. They were there, hidden in plain sight. Nobody could see them. I just discovered 2 new pyramids in Egypt on the Giza Plateau last week. I met with the Ministry of Antiquities. They let me have free access. And I found the pyramids that were exactly in a map that were left from the 15th century and 18th century. The pyramid blocks and all of the astrological constellations that are on the walls, each one is different scale and size because it's a coordinate system to a stargate. The Great Pyramid's a spiritual ascension stargate. And it also made power and energy, because how else are you going to operate a stargate? But that was the purpose of it. It wasn't to just be a power plant. It did it so that it could make scalar energy. So this last week, I just was in Egypt and made a discovery while there. It's right inside this. So I'm looking for the 4th pyramid.
Looking at satellite photography and everything. Find exactly.
I was wearing a suit because I met with the Ministry of Antiquity just before this, and I didn't want to go back to my hotel and waste time and change.
1857, which was Fra Mauro, an Italian explorer. And he showed 5 pyramids on the Giza Plateau. There was another.
I see the 2 smaller ones.
By the name of Popak that came in 1743 that showed 5 pyramids as well. And then in 1755, Norden, who was a Danish explorer and cartographer, came and depicted from an aerial view 4 pyramids, and had also a ground level view of 4 pyramids that has now become quite famous. And so we're here investigating to see if we can find this 4th pyramid. on the Giza Plateau. It's supposed to be on the south side of Menkaure Pyramid. So it would be southwest of Menkaure Pyramid. So let's go check it out. This is the Queen's Pyramid. So a lot of people think that this might be what Norden is talking about, saying that that could be possibly the other pyramid on the plateau, because it's not shaped like these, which are, this is more of a stepstone pyramid, so it's this one. And that one looks like there's a smaller pyramid. Oh, that's match. Wow, you can really see the erosion on these blocks look like similar erosion on the Sphinx. So it makes you wonder how old this actually is. These eroding blocks. Limestone.
You said limestone?
Limestone, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Up.
This is crazy. How long did it take you to find it?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes.
Joints.
So you found the same stones that were on the pyramid there.
Yep. They look the same as the one I just showed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why didn't we know about this is the question.
The vertical lines. Blocks.
Hmm.
You can see the joints.
Yeah.
It's like right here, here. It's crazy.
It's wild as hell. So do these connect to any other
That even has a notch
stars?
inside of it. That's a pyramid technique right here. They make a notch where it sticks out like this. Now you're going to see also from outside, the shape of the pyramid in the sand is the shape of a pyramid in the sand. It's really funny.
So there was a fifth pyramid here on the Giza Plateau, and it's exactly in this spot. It's right next to the other pyramid, which is there.
There it is.
A chimney on top of it.
That's the one we were just on.
It looks like a pyramid. from the
Yeah, it
side.
does.
Look, the angle. Like a pyramid.
Wow.
Let's see if we can find blocks here too. These are most definitely blocks.
Oh man.
This is another pyramid.
You can tell from right here. It looks the same. It's identical.
And that's all the debris of the. It's like, what the heck, man?
Well, is this the fourth pyramid of Giza that was described by both Pocock, the explorer, and also by Norden, 1755? The only way to know is to excavate.
Yeah.
So I think it's now up to the Egyptian government, the Egyptian antiquities, to decide to excavate this to see what we can find underneath all of this sand. I think they're going to find the pyramid.
Did they say that they'll excavate it or no?
Have a great day.
Yep.
Excavate it?
They're doing some geological review of it first.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, these are the blocks. I mean, you can see this.
Yeah, you can
There's
see
a
how it
block
lines
right
up.
here. You see this joint right here coming down, another block over here. Does that look like a natural formation to you?
Nah.
Hell no.
That's crazy. What are they trying to
There's another one
hide?
too. They're not trying to hide it. I think they're just surprised. First of all, they've been, doing this. They've got so much stuff invested in there only being 3 pyramids on the Giza Plateau.
Mhm.
Think about all the postcards and everything, all the books.
Yeah.
Now the whole landscape's going to forever change.
What does that mean for the future?
I think we're going to start learning a lot more. Everything about our history that was stuck in higher dimension when it was made will not be seen or perceived until we end up moving into higher dimension. So your frequency that you're at, so for a bird to see colors or to see certain objects, you have to have your eyes resonating at the frequency of the object that you're perceiving. So if the object you're perceiving is a fifth dimensional object, you won't be able to see it unless you're vibing at the frequency of the fifth dimension.
So basically, the reason why people see spirits and all these other things is because they're at the frequency of that spiritual resonance, in a sense.
Have you noticed right now that there's way more UFO sightings happening right now?
Yeah. Is that
Have you
because
ever
of all of
considered
us?
have you ever considered that maybe this is just the mass awakening?
I was thinking that. That's exactly what's crazy. I mean, with everything falling apart, so
And
we're raising
everything
our
is becoming
frequency.
uncloaked,
Yeah.
that's what's really going on? Does that make sense?
It makes 100 it makes 100% sense.
Right? So we're just now waking up to all this stuff that we had no idea about. And Da Vinci also was famous for making this. He made this thing here, right? This is at the Da Vinci Museum.
What is that?
And everyone thinks of this as a parachute. Why did we perceive it's a parachute? First of all, Da Vinci's not stupid. He's not going to make a wooden framed parachute. Is that going to fly? No.
No.
This is a pyramid. And it's basically taking the man up into his ascension. That's a totally different meaning.
So the consciousness
Yes,
is how you can perceive
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yep. So all the things that we think, it's all about our consciousness. As we raise our consciousness, our vibration goes up. As our vibration goes up, then we have the ability to see differently, to see more. And that ability to see more means we're going to experience the world differently. So this is a video that just came out yesterday.
Yeah, it's been going crazy lately. It's going crazy. Where is that? Oh, Hawaii? That's crazy. Mm. So this shows you where people are becoming more conscious at France.
Yeah, dude, it's not like all of a sudden, yeah, we've got this whole drone thing going on. What the heck even is that?
I think that's bullshit. That's in my opinion. I'm like, okay, you guys, like somebody's trying to confuse people or throw them off course or something. Like something is just weird.
But
Just weird.
remember, there's no they.
Yeah.
Everything is you.
Mm. Bars.
So think about that for a moment. So, yeah, there's an aspect of you that's trying to confuse you. Okay. And then also, let's think about this for the context of, okay, so there's drones and everything, and whatever that is, it's going to be a story. I don't know what it is yet, but the fact that there's that many UFO sightings happening right now, which seems unprecedented. I can't go on the internet now without seeing a UFO sighting somewhere.
Yeah, it's every day. Every day.
It's getting really intense, right? It's like we're building up to some contact thing. I just showed you alien heads inside of Da Vinci's hidden painting that nobody knew about of Mary Magdalene, with one child by Peter and one by Jesus.
That's crazy.
The shame of which led to the Catholic Church saying, okay, you know, when Mary Magdalene ran off and she went to the south of France and left Peter, probably because of all the shame they felt after the whole thing went down.
Yeah.
Peter then said, well, if I can't have the woman I want to marry, then no one in my church can. So then marriage is banned for priests. And that becomes the beginning of the fuckery.
I just had this weird question, and hopefully it's not a dumb question, but what if the children of Peter are trying to debunk the children of Jesus?
You know what? Look, we know this, that line became the Merovingian dynasty, became the French kings, which was intermarried with, you know, King Charlemagne and everything. They're all intermarried with the English. So, yeah, you could say it all started out somehow, some way, connecting back like this. And I don't know. All I can tell you is I feel like there's a lot more to the story and it's emerging, it's coming through. And that's why I'm willing to start talking about it now, because it's not what people think.
Absolutely. I agree.
We have a messy history in every sense. But that's okay because we are each of us messy. We all have darkness. We all have shadows. Those shadows have been doing dark, dark things, which has been unknown and unconscious to the conscious mind. The hero begins where the villain ends, and the villain begins where the hero ends. And what's right or wrong is entirely subjective to what will benefit us and our own self-preservation.
So do you feel like moving like 2025 is going to be, I'm not big on the New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. I believe that every day is an opportunity to seize the moment and become renewed, actually every moment. But do you feel like 2025 is going to be the beginning of something, or the next level to what we're already doing now is becoming more enlightened?
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. We're all becoming more enlightened. And so we're going to start seeing more. And the lost history of Egypt that's buried in the sand in higher dimension will start to reveal itself. Everything that was in fifth and sixth dimension before will start returning as we raise our consciousness. The extraterrestrials and the intraterrestrials have been here all along.
Yeah.
It's us that's changing and now able to perceive more.
I love it. I think it's beautiful that we're shifting, and even when I think about this stuff, it makes me like I look at time differently now too, is that even though so many years and time is moving so fast, I feel like a lot of us are aging slower. Isn't that
Going
weird?
backwards.
Yeah, I remember you saying something about how people are saying that you look younger and this and that, but I feel the same about myself. I feel like when I used to look at people who were 35 and you would talk about somebody being 35 or 40 years old, you would think of this guy, going bald and he's super old, but I'm like, I still feel 24. I still feel 23. I don't feel what they said 35 would feel like. If not, I kind of feel younger now than I did when I was in my
Oh,
20s.
I'm in better shape now than I was when I was in my 20s. And I can tell you that when my dad was 55 years old, he looked old.
Yeah.
I have pictures to prove it. I look way younger. Part of going to the fifth dimension is you start to age backwards until you're 35 again. So your body will age backwards until you hit the biological age of 35, which is the age of the adult. And when you are younger than 35, you'll age to 35 and then stop.
That's where I'm at.
So as a function of your frequency, if you maintain a high fifth dimensional frequency, that means that you choose love over being right. If you choose love over being right, you're 35 now, you're never going to age beyond 35. And look what time it is.
It lines up. It always it lines up, man. It lines up. It's confirmation.
I think it's a good place to end. Such a great pleasure to spend time with you today.
No, thank you very much. I'm really grateful for this moment. Two things before I let you go. I always ask every guest. Um, one, a book that you recommend, and two, a powerful quote that people can apply to their life.
So a book that I recommend, I'd have to say my latest book. It just came out yesterday, and it's called Philosopher, A Hero's Journey. And it's on Amazon, so you can find it. It's the third in the series of books that started with PhiloMath. PhiloMath, you don't need to have read PhiloMath and PolyMath in order to read Philosopher. They're written as standalone books, but it's along the same theme. If you want to read the others, they're complementary to each other. But Philomath became the number one selling book in mathematics and number theory on Amazon for a long time now. And then the second book, Polymath, is more geometric, it's more philosophical, and then this book is the most philosophical of all. So it's applying the meaning to things like geometry and mathematics that really applied philosophy is mathematics. Applied philosophy is math, applied math is geometry, applied geometry is physics, applied physics is chemistry, applied chemistry is biology, applied biology is psychology, applied psychology is sociology, applied sociology is back to philosophy. So all these things that we perceive as separate aren't really separate at all. And then I have my new season of Codex coming out. So if you haven't watched Codex 1, go watch it on Gaia, or you can also watch it on Amazon Prime. The second season of Codex is going to be killer. It's going to be bomb. Amazing. And this year's new launch of that's out right now of Ancient Civilizations on Gaia is all about the precursor to Codex. So literally all my work has been highlighted in that because Codex is the big launch this year on Gaia, Codex 2. So this is where we decode all this stuff, and it's definitely going to go really big. And so that's what I would say is you can find my work, follow me on Instagram, Robert Edward Grant, on YouTube, Robert Edward Grant also, and also my website, robertedwardgrant.com. And if you want to go to Egypt or to Peru, or, you know, we're doing other places in the world. We're going to Turkey later in 2025 as well. I'm going to start doing 4 trips a year. I'm going to Antarctica in 2 weeks, helping to co-lead an expedition there with Wim Hof, a famous, you know, ice bath master. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a pretty epic thing. And there's a bunch of DJs that are going on that trip too. There's going to be music. It's going to be like a mini Burning Man in Antarctica.
Dope. That's dope.
So thank you very much, Tuesday. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. I need one of those books with your signature on it so I can add
you
it to
want
my
a
collection.
quote? Oh, you buy the book, I'll get you the signature.
All right, let's do
for
it.
it. So the quote that I will give you is, when the heart thinks and when the mind feels is when the river of wisdom flows.
I love it.
When the heart thinks and the mind feels, the river of wisdom flows. Divinity is finding the balance of these things, the logos and the pathos. It's not finding imbalance on one side or the other. This whole world around us is made possible through imbalances. If everything were perfectly balanced, we'd perceive nothing. We'd just be back in oneness and white light, and then we wouldn't be able to play this game. This divine game in Hinduism, which is called Leela. Until you realize it's a game, it can be a hellish. But once you realize that life itself is a game, and you start to master and have fun playing the game, that's when you create heaven on earth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I love it. Can't wait to do this again. And until next time, peace, love, and light.
All right. All the best.
Peace.
Have a good weekend and Merry Christmas to everyone.
You too.